I've learned to advocate and speak up. So I think I've always been a people pleaser. And to me, that means I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And if it means conflict, I will avoid it at all costs. But I've learned that you can be both kind and strong at the same time. And I've also learned that my voice matters, and I will never not advocate for Kalvin. So if I know that it's not right, I usually have to give myself a little pep talk. I'm like, yeah, like, you can do this. But I've found my voice with him, for him.
Cheers.
Cheers.
You ready to do this?
I am.
All right. Hey guys, I'm Meg.
And I'm Mare.
And we're the hosts of Moms Off Script. And we are so excited about our episode this week.
Yes, my cousin's wife, Sammy, is going to be on the podcast today.
Ooh.
She is a wonderful human being, and she has 4 beautiful children, and she's here to talk to us about her experience as a mother, and specifically her experience raising a child with autism, everything that comes with that.
Yeah, we're so excited to talk to Sammy today, and we're going to get right into it. So enjoy our conversation.
Everyone, we are so excited to invite Sam to the podcast today. Sammy is a wife to her best friend Ray and a mother to 4 amazing kids. Besides being a wife and a mother, Sammy is a lifelong educator. She taught figure skating for many years before pursuing her degree in elementary education and becoming a 3rd and 5th grade teacher. And in 2020, she transitioned to full-time homeschooling and has continued to blend homeschooling and traditional education ever since. Samantha and her family are passionate advocates for the autism community. Alongside her husband, she co-produced How to Dance in Ohio, the first Broadway musical to feature authentically cast autistic performers. And when she's not lesson planning, advocating, homeschooling, or spending time with her family, which I don't know how much time you have left in that case, she can be found with her nose in a book.
Yes.
Sammy, welcome to the podcast. We're so happy you're here.
Thank you for being here.
We're so happy that you're here to talk about such an important topic we know is very near and dear to your heart. Yeah. We're going to get into all the things related to neurodiversity and autism, but help us kind of set the stage so that we can go on this journey with you.
Yes.
Before having a child diagnosed with autism, what was your exposure to awareness of neurodiversity?
I went to school for elementary ed, and so there's classes that you have to take.
Okay.
So I got it from a student standpoint, me being the student, and then I got to see it in my classrooms.
Okay.
So the last year of my teaching before I stopped teaching, I had a high population of special needs kids in my class, and it was because I was low on the totem pole. So there were 3 3rd grade teachers, and they really should have been spread out, but they put them all in my classroom.
Oh, wow.
So I got a huge dose of feeling under supported.
Yeah.
And like a crash course into like autism. I had one boy in my class on the spectrum whose biggest challenges were aggression and violence. So I would have to clear my classroom. I would have to protect myself physically. On top of that, I had a whole range of like ELA students and reading disabilities. So I was in it there.
You were earning your stripes as a teacher.
Yes.
For those who don't know, what's ELA?
English language learner. So ELL sometimes it's referred to. So like learning English as a second language.
Okay, amazing. So your experience as a teacher maybe fortified you for the future here, but you got, like you said, a crash course in all of that.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
So you do have a son that's autistic now, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And you have 2 children that are older than him. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so what was your transition into motherhood before you had your son with your first 2?
We got pregnant shortly after getting married. We went through some fertility stuff, some like surgeries and stuff, scary stuff, but it ended up being everything fine.
We got there.
And then, so we had Ollie. He's my oldest.
Okay.
And he was just such a good baby. Just
so cute. I have all these memories of him.
He was born quiet with his eyes wide open, and he just stared at us. Like, it just the really great big brother. He's just such a good big brother, and he was a really great way to ease into motherhood.
Yes.
I felt like I got my feet under me with him. And then Archie came out the opposite, just screaming. And every nurse was like, that's the loudest baby I've ever heard. I always say to myself, like, I feel like I was prepared for Cal through Ollie and Archie because they're just both amazing, but totally different. And I was able to learn how to be sleep deprived with Ollie, but he was so calm and sweet during the day. And then Archie taught me about toddler tantrums and like how to regulate myself and sass and all that stuff.
That's what we're in right now.
We're in that land with the sass to the nth degree.
So he was just a totally different kid, but the funniest kid ever. He's just hilarious. And then Archie and Kalvin are my closest in age.
Okay.
So
what was the gap between Ollie and Archie?
Ollie and Archie are just about 3 years apart.
Okay.
And Kalvin, I'm trying to think how old old Archie was. Maybe 18 months old when I found out I was pregnant. So they were like just over 2 years apart. And then Kalvin was different from the start. Just, he was a totally different birth experience. I had beautiful birth experiences with Ollie and Archie. I got to heal in the hospital, then go home and heal. And Kalvin, right after Ollie and Archie came to meet him, his first stool was bloody, which they thought was a sign for internal bleeding. So he had to go to the NICU. That was just really scary and stressful because they did every test under the sun to make sure that he wasn't having internal bleeding.
Right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go home.
Yeah.
I just wanted to hold my baby and get home to my other babies. So that was a few days long. That was new as a mom. And then when he was 8 weeks old, he had RSV and we were in the hospital for 5 days.
That's terrifying.
That was bad. I've never been the same since.
Yeah.
That'll change you.
I had never had to go to the emergency room with one of my kids before.
Right.
I felt kind of like...
Let alone a baby, you know?
It was... They took amazing care of him, but it's still he
scary.
was 8 weeks old.
Yeah.
Like, just, it was tough.
It's wild how, in some ways, this experience is so universal of, like, the first kid, the second kid, the third kid, and, like, how wildly different they are. Like, I have said so many times how Teddy and AJ are just, like, polar opposite in every way.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy how the same two people can make the same babies in the same environment, and they just are so different.
So different.
Yeah. So you have the 3 boys, and then after Kalvin, you now have a daughter as well?
Yes. In 2020, Mirabelle came along, literally the day that the world shut down. So March 12th. At that point, no one was wearing masks. I was in complete denial because I was 9 months pregnant and like Ray was starting to get worried, but I was like, we're fine. Everything's fine. And then when we got to the hospital to have her, they were like, have you been to China? Do you have a cough? Do you have a fever? And so I was like, this is different.
I've been through this a couple times.
Yeah, no one's ever asked me that before.
Right.
I had her and we checked my phone and the school email said like, no school for 2 weeks. And I was like, no, this is like the time I was supposed to,
settle in.
Yes.
And like, yes.
So it was literally the day.
Oh my gosh. So you've had 4 incredibly different, incredibly amazing for different reasons birth experiences that have prepped you for every manner of thing under the sun at this point. But let's go back to Kalvin's story. So you had him in 2017, right? Tell us about the journey to his diagnosis. What did that look like for you?
Besides like his little NICU stay and the RSV stay, he was reaching milestones happily, just the happiest baby. We saw nothing going on. Like we saw no signs that I would say, oh, that this seems off to me. Mm-hmm. But then at his 18-month visit, they asked how many words he had, and he had 0, which I knew was on the lower side. Right. My other boys had been saying mama, dada, no, da, little words.
Yeah.
But they said, no worries, let's just rule some things out. So the first step was to check his hearing.
Okay.
So we had to go to CCMC, do an audiology test. He passed it, flying colors. Then the next step after that was birth to 3. So, what's that? Okay, every state is different, but in Connecticut, if a baby age birth to 3 is flagged with any kind of developmental delay or could be a medical concern. So like sometimes preemie babies go through birth to 3.
Okay.
It's basically like a group of professionals, so speech therapists, occupational therapists, developmental doctors, developmental teachers can kind of test for early intervention.
Okay.
Connecticut has a pretty good program. Not every state has this. It's like free through the state.
Oh, that's
so
great.
they had a speech therapist and a developmental teacher come to the house. You know, they were just like, he's so beautiful. Nothing's really wrong with him. But, you know, he is not talking, and we can see that. The rule is you have to meet 2 criteria to get services.
Okay.
And so they really helped us out by saying like, okay, he has 0 words and we're not totally sure if he's understanding because he's not showing it. So
Okay.
there's the 2 checks. Like,
Okay.
There's 2 boxes checked. We're going to start speech therapy.
Okay.
So that was in the home. Every week a speech therapist would come. So he was 18 months old at this point.
Yeah, wow.
Still a baby,
Yeah.
like little.
Yeah.
I got a crash course in.
I was going to say, how did you feel through all of this? Like, okay, you've got these people coming into your house. They check these 2
Yeah.
boxes. Like, this is what we're going to do. Like, what
I
are you
wasn't
feeling?
worried at this
Okay.
point. I felt calm. I was not concerned at this point. I felt okay. Like,
That's
we've
fine.
got this.
Yeah.
Because again, he was so happy. We weren't really having any challenges. I didn't feel like him not having words at that point was challenging.
No, yeah.
So I was okay.
Yeah.
Then we got more towards 2. So from like 18 months to 2, he still wasn't really talking much. He was starting to have big behaviors. We're chalking it up to he's frustrated. He has no words. He can't tell us what he wants. Then that was coming out in big meltdowns. And that was really hard.
Yeah.
And that's around 2, a little bit after 2 is when I felt like something was going on. It wasn't just a speech delay. I knew something was, he needed more help than someone coming once a week. She was lovely and helpful, but that's not all he needed.
And you had experience already. You said, like, you know, Archie was the big
Yeah.
feelings. Like, you knew
Yeah.
kind of like
Yes.
a typical meltdown, and you were feeling like, we're dealing with something else here.
Yes, I was able to compare this to Archie, where he could tell me what was wrong.
Yes.
He could tell me what he wanted. And sometimes it was crazy, like, I want chocolate cake for breakfast, you know. But he knew what he wanted. He could tell me what he wanted with Kalvin. It was just frustration. And what I didn't know at the time was significant sensory seeking.
Yeah.
Him, like, clawing up my body and constantly, like, bumping into things and falling on the floor all the time wasn't just a language issue at the time. He was sensory seeking all the time. He was dysregulated all the time. Birth to 3 kind of gave me a little bit of a hard time about getting an OT eval, but they finally did. I was really strong in advocating
Love
for
a
what
strong
he
mother.
needed. So we got an OT eval through them, and I got a private OT eval because I wanted multiple opinions.
Yes.
And then at that time, they brought up the term sensory processing disorder.
Okay.
So I read everything I could on that.
Yep.
I was like, this makes sense to me. I get
Okay.
it. Like, just all the things.
Tell me what you were reading that you were like, yes, this makes sense.
Bumping into things, not registering being hurt. So, like, he would whack his head or fall down, or we'd go out in the snow and he'd be literally frozen. Never said, oh, I'm cold, or even acted cold.
Right.
Reading on just the brain firing neurons and like something's not connecting, and sensory seeking, which he was really doing, which like needed constant touch. He just rubbed everything on his face. He was starting to like look at things in different angles. All of these things were in these books I was reading and the OTs were teaching me about, and I was like, this makes sense to me. And I felt good at that time because I felt like we are learning the tools to help him.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then COVID hit and Mirabelle was born and all therapy was done.
Oh, no.
No one could come to your house. And at that time, I was also bringing him to OT.
So
I had Ollie and Archie, who I had to virtually, so they'd never virtually met with a teacher. I had to administer all education through their school. A 2-day-old.
Yeah.
And no more support for my son.
This is just like...
That was a heavy
the
time.
worst case scenario.
Yeah.
So what are you doing in that time to like survive the day?
So, coffee. Drink a lot of coffee. Ray has pictures of me just literally nursing her while giving Cal squeezes and teaching Archie his numbers and correcting Ollie's work at the same time.
Supermom,
moms are superheroes.
It was there was no
but
choice
you have to.
Right.
Yeah. So I was in survival mode then, and I was also you know what? Who's the best advocate for Kalvin? Me. I am gonna learn all the things. So I took online speech courses. I joined every kind of mom group for therapy I could. I basically did it myself at home.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
So
it was a lot.
For lack of a better term.
Yeah. Yeah.
At this point you have, what was it, sensory processing disorder?
Sensory processing disorder, which is not technically a diagnosis in the diagnosis book.
Okay.
But OTs use it as kind of a guide point for how to support.
A jumping off point.
Yeah.
Okay. You have sensory processing disorder on the table.
And speech delay.
And speech delay. Everything is shut down. You're doing this all by yourself.
Yes.
Pick up the story there. Tell me, obviously you survived the COVID years.
Yeah.
When do you start to have more professional intervention and give yourself some relief?
Not to say I didn't do a good job, because I'm really proud of myself for the job that I did do, but I did recognize a time when I realized I could not be a professional occupational therapist, speech therapist, teacher, developmental doctor, and mom and wife all the time.
Right.
Correct.
There's no way. So I finished out that year.
Okay.
Giving the kids the work that the teachers gave them for the end of the year.
Yeah.
Really, that March to July was kind of a wash.
Yes.
And then during that summer, we decided that I would homeschool. I was a certified teacher, and I was like, I kind of want to do this.
Yeah.
We started to return to in-person OT with masks, which imagine a 3-year-old who... I look back at that time and I'm like, how did we do that? How did he keep his mask on?
Yeah.
How did...
Yeah.
I don't even know.
We don't think about it too hard.
I don't think... I can't.
He did it.
He did it. Of course, the therapists were wonderful. And, if he had to take it off. But, that was the protocol then. Any kind of medical...
We were all wearing masks then.
Yeah. We began to go back to OT... And really it was as much for me as for him, because I was able to learn through his sessions how I could support him at home. Mm-hmm. But then closer to 4 years old, I really felt like I felt like up until that time I was putting pieces of the puzzle together for him, and I just didn't have the full picture. I still felt like I didn't have the full picture. So we were also doing virtual speech at the time. And this particular speech therapist was very against me going for an autism assessment for him. She was like, this could change your life. Lots of parents get depressed if they get a diagnosis.
Oh my goodness.
And that was really hard.
Yeah.
And not a common response for a therapist
I'm surprised.
to have. Right. She was just very of the mindset that it was COVID that was making things hard. And I think she had all the best intentions, but it kind of put off us getting the diagnosis. The other problem was there were no in-person diagnoses happening at CCMC at the time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So the gold standard for autism assessments is the ADOS. It's for 20 years, that's the way it's been, which is in person. It's a mix of parent interviews, parents filling out forms, and then a doctor doing in-person behavioral observations and tests with the child. It could take 2 to 5 hours. It could take multiple days. But no one was doing that. So they made a virtual version of it where we had to record him in given scenarios.
Wow.
Like in your home.
In our home. And then upload them, describe what was happening.
So much work for you guys. Like, that's all I can think of is how much administrative work that is.
So we did that. I went with my gut, and I trusted that speech therapist, but I also trusted my gut more.
Yes.
And I was like, what will it hurt?
Yeah.
I need to see. I think it would be a disservice to Kalvin if we didn't do this.
And you were feeling like you were missing something.
Yes.
And if you didn't pursue this path, you would always be wondering, well, what if that was the thing I was missing?
Yeah.
Okay, so you submit the virtual assessment. So we submit all the
things. Then we have a sit down with a doctor via Zoom who told us that Kalvin is autistic. There are levels. They level them 1 through 4.
Okay.
Basically, she was like, he needs a lot of support. I think doctors try to do this to help you, but it didn't help me at the time. Like, if it were my brother or if it were my brother's kid, I'd say, like, you got a tough road ahead of you, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a hard one.
Yeah.
But did any part of you feel a little bit validated? Because you were having a really tough experience there to be like,
yes.
Okay, well.
Yes, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was also really hard. I think I needed a kinder doctor to give me that news.
Yeah.
Somebody who looked at it as like a mom who's kind of realizing that like their whole life is going to be different from this moment forward. Yeah, I think it was harder getting that news because she wasn't very kind about it. And she immediately went to, well, he needs to be in 40 hours of ABA services. This is a kid who hadn't gone to pre-K yet.
Yeah. Right.
It felt like he wasn't a person, that he was just someone in her book.
Yeah.
So that was hard.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I had to take that information and then I had to figure out what am I going to do about it that's going to make me feel good and that's best for Kalvin.
Yeah. Because you're going to have you're never going to be able to see Kalvin as anything other than your son, Kalvin.
Right.
So to disconnect him as a human from the treatment that he needed is just impossible.
Yeah.
So how did you and Ray intake that information, process it, and come up with your plan?
It took time. It took a lot of, I don't want to say I was crying because I was sad, but it was like crying because I was not in control.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm a type A personality.
Welcome to the club.
And I feel like with the other kids, it's what I loved about being home with them was that I was in control of scary things they saw and like when they tried new foods, and I just felt very out of control. I don't know what to do. I don't know if what I do is going to help him. I felt overwhelmed.
It sounds like the doctor that you spoke to didn't give you any reassurance to make you feel any less overwhelmed in that moment. Did you ever find a doctor or anybody that you could rely on that kind of gave you what you needed in that conversation?
Not a doctor. I will say we've met with other developmental pediatricians through his journey, but I've found support in other people, other experts in the field, other autistic individuals, his one-to-one therapists who know him and love him, and he is not just a case to them. That's where I've found support and validation. Yeah.
I have the pleasure of knowing Kalvin now, and I know what a thriving and vibrant little kid he is.
Yeah.
How did we get from that place? So, because when was it when he was diagnosed? How old was he?
4.5.
Yeah. So, what was that journey like from diagnosis to this really great place where he is now?
It's been a lot. We've tried a lot of things. I think one thing I've learned is like if you try something and it doesn't work out, it doesn't mean that you failed. We tried to find the best school placement because I was homeschooling pre-K with him,
Right.
But then we had all the advice saying like he needs to go to in-person school. We tried the special education preschool program in our town. That was traumatizing.
Oh, no.
He cried the whole time he was there, and then his teacher just put him in a timeout for crying.
No.
And I was like,
breaks for that.
No. So then the following year, he would have been in public school kindergarten. And I thought, I'm going to do my due diligence. I'm going to get all of the testing done through the public school system. And I'm going to have our meeting, our PPT, and see what kind of supportive environment they offer and see if it feels right. And it didn't feel right because he tested low on everything, and they were like, we don't know if he can have a one-to-one. We don't know if we have the staffing.
Oh God.
No.
And I was like, I know that this isn't right.
Yeah, not the answer I wanted.
So then I tried to advocate for a half-day kindergarten to ease him in.
Yep.
And the principal said, no, absolutely not. I know that it's been done before.
Yep.
But he said no. I submitted recommendations from his OT. I did all the work to try to get that to work, and it was a no. So ultimately, I did not feel comfortable sending him there.
Yeah.
And then we, for a short stint of time, 6 weeks to be exact, tried to send him. So at this time, I had homeschooled my other kids for 2 years, and then they were finally going back to in-person education.
And what year were they? Or what grades were they in?
So Archie was in 2nd grade and Ollie was in 5th grade, which they loved, and they were happy to be with their friends. So I wanted to encourage that, like, they were ready. But because it's a private school, they have no special education unit. There's no support. Ray and I did everything we could to try to make it work so that all the kids could be in the same school. We donated and outfitted an entire resource room in the school.
Gosh. Wow.
For Kalvin and for anybody.
Yeah.
We worked with the therapy clinic who he uses now to have a one-to-one therapist be with him during the school day. And they were going to allow half-day kindergarten.
Okay.
This all sounds
So
great.
we were like, this all sounds great.
Yep.
He wasn't ready. And his one-to-one was the only person in the school who had the resources to give him any kind of support. And that's a very hard place to be because she has to go to the bathroom. What if she's out sick? What if she has to walk down the hall? Like, there was nobody who could.
You want a cocoon of support,
Yes.
not like a single lifeline.
Yes, exactly. He ended up crying every single day the whole time.
Yeah.
Then he would come home and he was having nervous habits, like picking his hair, picking his nails, not sleeping. I knew it wasn't right.
It wasn't working.
It wasn't working. So then I started homeschooling him. So Mira was home. I was home with Mira.
Yep.
The 2 older boys were at school. I was homeschooling him. But we were also going to, like, nature school. And he was still getting in-person therapy. So I felt like we were in a good place at that time. I felt confident. I felt like I had control over the situation. Yes. Ultimately, I still needed more support because I am his everything. So, like, I was his teacher. I was his mommy. I was doing all the therapy stuff.
Yeah.
And I needed a little bit more support. So, thankfully, the company that we used to have as a one-on-one support in the school that we tried out opened up a new space with a bridge program. So it was older kids, meaning like after early childhood.
Yep.
So after preschool. And that's still where he is now.
And how's that working out?
It's good. He goes half time. So he goes from 8:30 to 12:45.
Okay.
I create all of his curriculum that gets sent into them, and then a one-to-one therapist does it with him there.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's a nice compromise because it retains some of the control that you want and the influence that you have over him and the way that you're able to advocate for him. But it also takes off some of the burden of actually delivering on all of that.
Yeah.
And frees you up to focus on other roles versus the teacher role all the time.
I knew just from having homeschooled the older boys, a cookie cutter curriculum was not going to work for him. He thrives in reading, is behind grade level in math. So I make it all. I send it in. I teach at home too. So I'll teach him too. But the other 3 kids are at school now.
Yes.
So,
are they all in the same school now?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what's that dynamic like?
I think the hardest thing for me is that they're not all together.
Yeah.
That was really hard when I realized he couldn't be at their school. And I had a lot of guilt about that. Like, I couldn't make it work. And then I was like, you know what? This is my hang up. He's where he's supposed to be and they're where they're supposed to be. And they don't have to be at the same place for them to be well taken care of. It's actually better for them to be at different places. And also, the older boys were having a lot of anxiety about Kalvin being there because they were worried about him.
Yeah. When he was at the same school.
Yes. For those 6 weeks, they would come home and be like, Mommy, I heard him crying. And my teacher told me that I could go check on him. But then it made me really sad. And, you know, that was hard for them.
Yeah.
I didn't want them spending the whole day worrying about him crying.
They can all thrive when they're in the right environments for themselves. It goes back to what we said at the top about like how every kid is different. Every kid has different needs. It seems like you guys did everything to try and have them all together, but ultimately recognizing like this is what's going to be best for all of them.
Yes.
And they'll all have a better experience.
Yeah. I think it was like a me thing. It was just like...
It's hard.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, like, navigate that idea of, like, what you wanted, right? Like, it's what you... Like, this picture that you have when you start to build this family, and there's going to be things that get thrown in your direction that you kind of have to just navigate. And you're not always going to have that, like, picture perfect or... It's not even that it's not picture perfect. It's not the picture you envisioned.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, because... It sounds like while it's hard, you've been smiling through this entire time, right?
Yeah.
Like you are in a good place.
Yeah.
Or at least it seems like
Yeah. I mean, listen, he is in a much better place. He can communicate his needs. Mm-hmm. So he is talking. That's amazing. His meltdowns are totally different now. We have worked so much on emotional regulation. He is more emotionally developed than like most 9-year-olds.
Yeah.
I feel like he could tell me why he's feeling a certain way, what zone his color is, like, because that's what he needs.
Yeah.
But of course there's challenges. We have to work extra hard. He always needs me. I'm never, like, off with him.
Right. Yeah.
But I feel like we've found our groove. Like, we've surrounded ourselves with support systems.
So you talked a little bit about your older two and going into school and, like, seeing Kalvin. Your family has obviously had to adapt since this diagnosis. What are some ways that your kids have adapted, and what are some of those things that Kalvin really needs in the home?
One big thing that the siblings and the adults in our house have gotten used to and are able to support Kalvin is he does not always communicate in a traditional way. Mm-hmm. So he's not going to sit down and have a back and forth conversation with us. That feels very demanding to him.
Okay.
A lot of times he'll shut down with a question. So you would think, like, siblings are like, hey, Cal, how was your day? That gets a no. Answering questions is hard for him.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because he has to figure out what you're asking him, think about it, and if he's in a happy mood and, like, sometimes wants to have a little back and forth, he can or will. The other kids have found beautiful ways to connect to him that are different than the ways that they connect with their other siblings.
Yeah.
So, like, if all he wants to do is chase, Ollie will play monster with him. And he's just like, I think you've seen,
yes,
like,
I have seen this.
And, you know, it can be, like, a little loud, but
it's a good kind
he
of loud.
just finds so much joy in that. And, like, that's their connection. He loves when Archie does, like, funny voices or funny dances for him. And he doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to talk about why he likes it. He just wants to watch it and laugh about it. And, like, that's their way of connecting. Mira, who is, like, a little mother, even though she's 3 years younger than him. She is, like, a little therapist in training. So she'll, like, comment on when he does something nicely. She'll rub his back. She'll hold his hand. So, like, we do a lot of prepping in our house. That's another thing that we do to support him. So, like, for example, if we're going to the doctor, you have to act it out. I make a social story, which is basically a book that shows him what to expect with words and pictures. My favorite memory of Mira and Cal is we were, like, talking about what it's like to get a vaccine and how you might and she's like, she's half Cal size, and she's like, come sit on my lap, Kalvin. she tries to connect with him in the way that I do, which is physical touch. So he needs a lot of physical touch from me, specifically. He wants to constantly play with my hair, always hug me, always be touching. But he doesn't really want to have hugs and touches from other people.
Right.
Ooh, that's a lot on you.
Yes. I've had to figure out my triggers so that I can regulate myself because I am overtouched by the end of the night.
Yeah.
They connect with him on his special interests. So he is very obsessed with letters, which is called hyperlexia.
Okay.
So about 85% of autistic people have hyperlexia, which is like they learn to read quicker. Oftentimes they teach themselves to read, and they just have a hyperfixation on letters.
Yeah.
So for him, a sign that we didn't know, he would not watch the movies, but he would watch the endings, end credits, scroll, and then he would say, again. And then he would just watch the letters. Like at the time, I'm like, I don't know why this makes you happy, buddy, but... And now I look back, and I'm like, he was learning the letters. Like, and now he'll tell me, like, this name is the same name as this name. Like, he notices things about credits of movies that you would never.
Wow.
Yeah. We know when he's overstimulated. So he'll do the monster game, the roaring game, the running around, and then he'll get too elevated, and we know we need to bring it down. So as a family, we do guided meditation.
I want to do guided meditation.
love
Can I
that.
go?
Yeah. So so usually our routine is play in the basement, get your energy out. We have all the things for his sensory input, like a crash pad, a big jumping thing, so he can get all the big body movement that he needs out.
Yep.
Heavy work, which is basically like his muscles just need a lot of, they call it heavy work, but just a lot of input. So oftentimes I have to give him like joint compressions, which is, we call it squeezes, or heavy work lifting things, doing big things with his body. But then at a certain point he gets overstimulated, and then we'll see some like head shaking or meltdowns sometimes, big yelling. And so that's when we go to guided meditation. And then during that time I'll do some like deep pressure, like rubbing his back. And the older boys are so good with that. They'll rub his back. So it's a family effort. I feel like we've all found ways to give Cal what he needs.
And I think you've also built such incredible empathy skills in your family, right? Like,
Yes.
What an incredible experience for them to have, to learn how to see a person that's different than themselves and adapt to them and give them what they need and meet them where they are. Like, that's just incredible.
It's a beautiful thing to watch them with Kalvin. And also one of Ollie's best friends, who is my friend, or the mom is my friend, is on the spectrum. It's really, it's lovely to see him interact with Kalvin and interact with his friend, and like know that I'm kind of helping this next generation of kind humans who will accept people with different brains. And Archie was in a play, and he knew that one of the other kids in the play was on the spectrum, and he was so excited.
Aww.
He came home and he was like, Mom, they were wearing their headphones. It's just like Kalvin. And I was like, that's amazing. And he's just, it's lovely. They've learned a lot, and they continue to learn a lot with him. But
I have to kind of turn the conversation back to you, because you have been I know Kalvin's been the main focus, but like you have been the center of this story, and like the ways in which you've advocated for him, the pillar of strength that you've been through this entire thing is just like truly incredible to me. If you think back on all of this, and I know the journey's not over, right? You're in this for the long haul, but like, what has this been like for you, and how have you changed going through all of this?
I've learned to advocate and speak up. So I think I've always been a people pleaser, and to me that means I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and if it means conflict, I will avoid it at all costs. But I've learned that you can be both kind and strong at the same time. And I've also learned that my voice matters, and I will never not advocate for Kalvin. So if I know that it's not right, I usually have to give myself a little pep talk. I'm like,
hyped up.
Yeah, like, you can do this. But I've found my voice with him, for him.
Throughout this journey, like Meredith said earlier, like you're still on this journey, you're in it, right? But what are 2 or 3 pieces of advice that you would have for families navigating an autism diagnosis or kind of just entering into this journey?
Trust your gut is a big one. Mm-hmm. So you know your kid best, and you know, not that you know exactly what they need, because experts are going to help.
Right.
But you know when something doesn't feel right. Not all therapy clinics are created equally, and not all therapists are created equal. We had an experience with a speech therapist who was very old school, very sit at a table, you answer my question, and that was not a good fit for him. He didn't want to answer the questions, so then he wouldn't talk at all.
Right.
So then it was 45 minutes of me sweating like he's not going to talk this whole time. And that doesn't mean all speech therapists do it that way. So we now are with a wonderful speech therapist who is very play-based, and she explores Kalvin's ideas, and she teaches him speech skills through his interests. So I would say, if it doesn't feel right, it's okay to look for a different therapist. It's okay. I would say surround yourself with people who will accept your child and you and your struggles without judgment.
Yeah.
Nothing feels worse than going to a family party or hanging out with a friend and feeling judged by your child's behaviors when you know they're struggling and you're struggling and you're tired. Nothing's worse than a friend being like, ugh, are they going to make that noise the whole time? You know, that's...
God,
Yeah.
So surround yourself with family and friends who love you and accept this journey for what it is, because there's going to have ups and downs and there are hard times. I would say keep advocating. Sometimes you have to ask more than once. Sometimes it has to be like 17 times. But if you know it's right, you can keep speaking up. And also, I would say, I feel very lucky that I had an education in education and had experience. But for those families who do not and don't know their rights, hire an advocate. So there are advocates who will go on the PPT meetings with you.
Can you say what PPT stands for?
It's the parent team meeting for planning the IEP or the 504 plan.
Yep.
So it usually involves the parent, a teacher, sometimes a principal, counselor, therapist.
The whole team.
You're allowed to have whoever you want on it. So I would say know your rights, and if you're unsure of them, there are people that can help with that, because schools right now are stressed.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's not as much support as we would love.
Yeah.
And there's not as much funding in the special education area as we would love. So you really have to push for support.
It's kind of a similar question, but thinking about families that maybe aren't going through a diagnosis or anything related to that, but want to be good allies. What are some ways people have helped you, intentionally or unintentionally, and what advice would you give to making sure that you're building inclusive experiences for autistic kids?
I think it helps when people don't pretend like it's not there. So autism is not a bad word. It's beautiful and challenging, but when people pretend like it's not there, it devalidates everything that I'm going through and he's going through. And anytime people reach out to me, like at your sister's wedding, her special note to me, talking about Kalvin's autism, I read that maybe 3 times, just crying, because I felt like she saw me and saw all my hard work, and like that note meant so much to me. When you sent me the girl on Survivor who like I'm gonna cry now. I know. I feel like when people, it's not invisible, and it's not supposed to be invisible. So when people talk about it and share things with me, or say like, I see this about Kalvin, or I saw this on TV and it made me think of Kalvin and you, and I love you guys, I think that just fills my heart up. And I think I'm able to give him more of myself because I feel filled up with love.
Yeah.
So I think not pretending it's not there and like sharing little things you love about the person, or, you know, a very obvious one is to not be judgy and staring in public.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It still happens.
Yeah.
So we just came back from Florida and we had an experience in the Rainforest Cafe. So Kalvin always wears his headphones when he's in public. It just makes him feel safe.
Yep.
And I was unprepared about the thunderstorms in the Rainforest Cafe.
No, someone should have warned you about this.
So the waitress did after we sat down. So his first experience was like, it was just, everything was cool.
Yeah.
And then she was like, just so you know, I see he has his headphones on. I so appreciated that. Love that. Don't act like it's not there. Like,
Tell me.
It was his biggest meltdown probably he's ever had, out of total fear.
Yeah.
He just thought the building was going to collapse.
Yeah.
Like, he was screaming bloody murder. I had to physically take him into the bathroom. And think about how hard that is for me and him. And the table behind us stared at us the whole time. I know I shouldn't care.
How
I
do you
shouldn't
not, though?
care.
It's so hard to turn that off.
But I also, stop staring at my kid like that.
Yeah.
You know, it makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I would say be kind and generous with like your words and your stares. If you see someone at a store having a meltdown, if you want to say something, make it be supportive. Like, can I get you anything?
Yeah.
And if the mom says no, then she means it because she knows.
Move on.
And then you could just move on and not stare. But I think staring can hurt feelings.
I'm going to add an enforcer to your care team to like,
Yeah.
staring, you know?
Yeah.
What? What are you looking at?
And especially for me, because I care what people think. That's a tough one.
So speaking of allyship, I have to turn the conversation to How to Dance in Ohio, which we haven't really talked about yet, but I'm going to let you explain what it is and talk about it.
So How to Dance in Ohio is a Broadway musical, not currently running, but had a good run on Broadway, that Ray and I got to be co-producers on. Ray co-produces shows as a profession. I've never done that before, but when he brought it to my attention pre-Broadway, and I learned what the show was about, I knew that I wanted to be involved with him. Yeah. And then we were able to talk to the creative team and learn a little bit more about how it was authentically cast with autistic people playing the autistic parts, and the environment that they were creating for the autistic community was just so special to be a part of. We were able to go to New York City to see the first rehearsal. And it was a group of the creative team, directors, choreographers, costume designers, the cast, and a bunch of co-producers. And the first thing that we all did was stand in a big circle, and the director introduced herself and then asked everybody in the circle to introduce themselves with their name, their pronoun, and their access needs.
That's so cool.
And you just must have felt like, yes, this is how it should
you
be.
Get it? Yes, like this is how it should be. It was so beautiful that everybody, not everybody had an access need that they needed to share, but the people that did were able to say, for example, like, my body is moving around, but I'm with you.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't mean I'm not listening. My body just needs to move. It was just amazing for everybody there to feel united in kindness and support for these amazing actors who were getting to make their Broadway debut, acting in a role that meant so much to all of them and meant so much to people who have autism in their lives, and getting to see it on stage.
Did you all get to go see it, like, once it was live?
We all got to go see it. Ray and I got to see it, I think, 9 times. Ollie and Archie got to see it 5 or 6. Mira at 3 got to sit in the front row. She sat there enthralled the whole time because she had listened to the album on repeat.
Okay.
And we were also able to share with her before going on board as a co-producer. They kind of sent you a little rehearsal, like no costumes, minimal props, like in a rehearsal space. And we were able to show her that. And she had memorized every line, every song. And so she was just like eyes wide, mouthing along. It was like celebrities to her.
Yeah.
Kalvin got to go one time. And he was able to use their sensory spaces. So they fully equipped the theater with break spaces. The whole point was like, not only do you get to be on stage, but autistic and neurodivergent people who maybe sometimes don't go to a theater because they don't feel like the space is for them, because they have to be quiet. They can't stim vocally or physically. There's nowhere to appropriately take a break. We wanted that space to be for them.
Yeah.
And Cal fully used those resources. They had a little space where there was a screen on the stage, so you could kind of feel like you were in a cocoon, but he could still watch it. So we kind of like, I kind of put him on my hip and took him out for his favorite songs. And then we would like go back into the space, the sensory space.
And what an amazing thing for him to be able to see people like him living their dreams and doing what they want to do and being successful in a space and being able to say that, like, okay, they're being successful and following their dreams, so I can too. Yeah. Right? What a model, and how nice it is that you and Ray were able to contribute to, like, make that happen in some way and give him that experience. That's incredible.
Yes.
You did mention when we were speaking off screen earlier before the episode that this is based on a documentary.
Yes. I would love everybody to see the documentary How to Dance in Ohio. It's based off of a real clinic who supports young adults with autism, learning social skills, supporting them in their needs. The head doctor, therapist, wanted to prepare them for this rite of passage, going to a spring formal, creating their own spring formal, because a lot of autistic individuals maybe don't get to in their school or are too nervous to go because it's a crowded space and they're not going to feel supported. So he felt like this would be a really amazing thing to document the struggles, just learning about these people's lives and like what they went through to get ready for the spring formal, learning how to date, like the questions that come along with that. It's a great documentary. And then to put it to music, I would also say listen to the album. It's on iTunes.
Love it.
We'll have to check it out.
Definitely. Are you ready for the rite of passage?
I'm ready.
That is the Moms Off Script lightning round.
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Favorite way to unwind after bedtime?
Watching TV with Ray.
Last book you finished?
The 4th Outlander book. I'm doing a reread.
I was going to say.
I'm rereading the whole series.
Okay.
And I just finished. I'm going to probably finish the 5th book like in the next day.
Lovely. Favorite date night spot with Ray?
Our couch.
Favorite Broadway musical?
How to Dance in Ohio.
Favorite song from How to Dance in Ohio?
Ooh. I gotta say Building Momentum.
Okay.
Have you been watching the figure skating on the Olympics?
Okay, listen, I feel so bad. Only the highlights.
That's fair.
That's okay.
You're a busy woman.
Okay, I know. I feel so bad that I haven't. As a former figure skater, it's like sacrilege, but I have not watched it fully.
Do your kids watch it with you, or when you watch the highlights? Do your kids interested in
They've
it?
watched some of the Olympics,
okay.
yeah.
Favorite way to treat your kids?
Ooh, like a special treat?
Yeah.
So Kalvin has a dairy and gluten-free diet. So his favorite thing is he has these special dough bites. He'll just say like, "Dough bites, Mom?" And for him, Barnes & Noble, his favorite place in the world.
My favorite place.
He could just go through the aisles. For the other 3, like special one-on-one time, because I am so in it with Kalvin all the time that we'll like let one stay up late, you know, and have special time with them, or doing pretend makeup with Mira or real makeup with Mira.
I love that.
Best family vacation you've taken?
Disney.
Favorite homeschool memory?
Ooh, I have so many favorite homeschool memories. The times when I was able to plan interdisciplinary things across grade levels and like do a lesson with all of them. Like I remember our first day of homeschooling ever was Ollie was obsessed with the Titanic. And I was like, I'm going to do writing. I'm going to do art. I'm going to do science. I'm going to do everything on this. And I just feel like that first day, I've like included all the kids in the morning meeting.
You set the bar really high.
Yeah, I did. I like put on a really cute teacher dress. I like really went for it.
I love
I have pictures of that day. Just like holding Mira and the 3 boys on their little mat. And yeah.
Oh,
I love that. And a moment in motherhood you are proud of?
I think I'm really proud of all 4 births. I set my mind to having unmedicated births. And they were really hard, but I'm really proud of them. But I think just in general, just being really strong. I feel like I never saw myself as a strong person, and I feel like being a mom has made me really strong.
That's it.
I got nothing else. That was so great.
Good job.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much for being here
This
with us
was
today.
incredible.
This was such a great conversation.
Thanks.
Thank you for sharing your story and all of everything that you've gone through the last couple of years with your journey. So we really appreciate you spending some time with us.
Thanks for having me.
That was such a great conversation. I'm so happy we got the opportunity to sit down with Sammy. She had some great stuff to talk to us about today.
Absolutely, yes. I've been wanting her on the podcast for so long, and I'm so glad she was finally here. I was just overwhelmed by how much she has done for her family as a mother and as a wife. I know Sammy in real life, so I've had some appreciation for that, obviously, but to sit down with her and get a chance to hear it from start to finish from her mouth, I just truly admire her so much as a mother.
Yeah, it was amazing. She is a super mom, to say the least.
Absolutely, yes. On that note, why don't you wrap us up and give us our socials?
Yeah, so we are Moms Off Script on TikTok and Instagram. You can catch us there, see some funny behind the scenes stuff. You can email us, momsoffscript@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your stories or any questions you have for Mare or myself.
Or Sammy. We'll pass it to her.
Or Sammy as well. And we'd love to read some listener mail on the air. So send us an email or hit the text us button right below in the show notes. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you guys next Thursday.
Bye.
Moms Off Script is created and developed by Megg Abelein and Meredith Finch. Set design and videography, Megg Abelein and Meredith Finch. Music, Matt Beebe. Photography, Michelle Montinieri. Graphic design, Alexia Dulieu. This episode is edited and produced by Meredith Finch.